Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Rico.
I'm Tony.
And this is the podcast known as Relatively Sound, the podcast that was on the highway, drifting sideways out of control. Today, Tony and we are back doing another album for album series. Last week, Tony was able to introduce a new type of episode, and I think it went really well, even though I have yet to finish editing it as the recording of this episode. But it was fun to be able to talk about a band and not necessarily have to talk about an album. It was fun being able to kind of go throughout their whole discography.
And something out of your comfort zone, too.
Yes. Which is why this week I'm going back into my comfort zone for this selection for Tony, although slightly different. This week we're talking about a band that we have yet to talk about on the podcast. A band Tony and I have not talked about together, and that's because it's a band that I think he would only know by name because I've brought him up once or twice. Today, Tony's going to be reacting to the latest album from indie Seattle rock band Deep Sea Diver, their new album, Billboard Hearts.
Lift that up a little bit more. Let me see that. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
To give you a little background on this band, I did say they're a rock band from Seattle. The lead vocalist, Jessica Dobson, she's actually from California, and before starting this band, she singer-songwriter, and she worked with a lot of other big-name artists, The Shins, Beck. Wikipedia says Spoon, and I don't know quite that connection, but in 2009, she formed this band, Deep Sea Diver, with her husband on drums. Kind of to tie in how I found out about them, I think in 2021 we had tickets to see Death Cab, and they were going to be the opening band. But then the gig was canceled because someone in Death Cab got COVID. And it was canceled and never, the dates were never rescheduled. So I didn't get a chance to see this band live. But I happened to be watching a video on Seattle's radio station KEXP on their YouTube page. I think it was Jason Isbell. He did a set. And after it ended, it auto-played another set from the same radio station's YouTube channel. And it was a set by this band, Deep Sea Diver. And it was in 2020 from their album, Impossible Weight. And I dug the opening song right away. And then when I looked into it, I'm like, oh, this is the band we're supposed to see with Death Cab. And I'm like, that sucks because I love the song. So I played the album on Spotify. I really enjoyed it. And I ended up picking up the album on vinyl when I was in Seattle a couple years ago when I was seeing you guys. Then I just started seeing this band everywhere. They opened for Spoon. They opened for Death Cab. And last year, they opened for some of Pearl Jam's dates on the West Coast for their Dark Matter tour. So then, when it was announced I think beginning of this year that they had a new album coming out, I was excited. And it came out February 28th of this year. And I've been really digging it. I'm not going to really spoil what the album sounds like or anything. I'm just going to give you the album. So yeah, I'm just really curious what you are going to think of this album. I like to give you, some new bands, and I like to give you what I'm really into. And sometimes I'm into current music, new music right now. And even though they're not a new band, they have a new album, and I've dug enough to buy it on vinyl, and I've been loving it. And
but for this week, I have no idea what Deep Sea Diver sounds like. Rico's mentioned the name to me, but I don't think I've ever heard their name outside of this.
Yeah, which means I know you probably never heard us even one song.
Yeah, well, why wait any further? Let me see what they're all about.
All right, let's go check them out.
So let's dive into Deep Sea Diver. Song one here I see is called Billboard Heart.
Title track.
Oh yeah, title track to start off. I mean, better be good then. Get very squiggly. Okay, bass is coming in. I like that they're building fairly quickly. You get the kick, the toms, and you get the guitar now. Oh my Okay, a little instrumental break. A lot of fuzz going on. So it really cleared up here after that little short fuzz break. Okay. Very intense tremolo on the guitar. I like that chord. So like easy to follow lead guitar that's going with the keys. Bag of vocals were really kind of murky in the back. I like what you're singing up in that register. Is this, now we're back to the fuzz bit, is this a little bit more tame than earlier?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Okay, you can really hear the bass now, which I like. It has now picked up a lot since the intro. I like this noodly, like, keyboard part that came in. Kind of guitar's noodly. Like, in my head, I'm already seeing, like...
Where the fuck did you pull that out of? How were you able to grab that so fast?
It's in the little keyboard tray of this desk. Yeah, I think that was a really well-written song. Yeah, I think that was a really interesting song. I think kind of what made the song really effective was the dynamics throughout it. Like, the beginning, it built up, but I'm really glad that, like, it was like every time through the progression, they added something. Every time they built through it, they added something. And as much as I do like soundscapes, you know, to make it feel like a song, I'm glad they kept it moving forward. When the song like kind of settled in and the bass was doing the chord progression, you know, you're feeling out the melody, that was cool. The first highlight to me was definitely when it got really fuzzy. That was cool, but they only teased it, really. They did it just for like maybe 10 seconds, and I was like, okay, that's no fair. Give it back. And then I liked when the bass picked up a lot. Like, it wasn't like in the way of the song. I mean, there wasn't a lot going on in like the low end, so it was cool how it filled it out. There's definitely parts where they backed off to let the vocals come through. Near, like, before you get to the outro, or maybe it is like the start of the outro, when they go back to the fuzz thing, it's a lot more gentler. Instead of just sounding like, all right, let's copy, paste. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but I like that there really were those dynamics. At the end, it wasn't so much like a solo as much as the band kind of jamming out, being kind of noodly, vibing. Yeah, I mean, the lyrics, I didn't really try to decipher them, you know, put my full analysis into them right now, but I think I like some of the lines I heard. Like she said something about paint chips on her fingertips.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of these lyrics on Spotify are incorrect, but...
Yeah, I mean, that was a very cool song. I mean, just hearing it right away, I think I know why you kind of like it. Or, I see why you like it, because it's kind of giving me shades of some of the newer, like, Killers that you've showed me. Even maybe some of the Death Cab production-wise.
This has very major recent Death Cab vibes, for sure.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned that they were going to open for them. Yeah. So, bummer you couldn't get the double Death Cab vibes there.
And I think it was before this album came out, though, so I wouldn't have been able to see some of these songs live, probably.
Yeah, that was a cool way to start the album. I'm definitely interested if this album's going to be kind of, you know, low-key, kind of mellow, because this definitely was not a hype song.
Yeah.
It got loud and, you know, had elements in there that were rock, but it, you know, wasn't hype. But what do I know? The second track on the album coming up next here. Already picking it up. Yeah, already definitely up tempo, a little more poppy, even a quicker build than the first song. Alright, fun little guitar lead. The fast trills. Okay. Classic rock guitar break, you know. Yeah, it gets a little dreamy here. Sounds kind of quiet after hearing that little guitar break. gross. There we go. I like that a lot. Do it again. He did it again. Back to the guitar lead. Solo. Okay, and on the chilled out version of the chorus. Solid. Okay, well, right off the bat, let me just say something that I can't help but think about right now. All right, so I said that, like, hearing the first song, that you would like it because it sounds like modern Death Cab, some of what the Killers have been doing. And after hearing this song, I think you like a lot of it because there's a lot of ear candy, like some of the Wilco you've been listening to.
That's a possibility, yeah.
Like, there's a song, and on top of it, there's a bunch of different keys sprinkled in. There's like a lot of reverb on these tracks. I am glad that after the opening track, we got something a little more up-tempo, faster, a little poppier. And I thought there was different dynamics in the first song. Like, you did have, like, the build to start it, but it was a lot quicker. You had those guitar breaks where you're just riffing for a second. And I kind of wish they riffed more in the song, but I think that's what made it good. They had some self-control. And I almost wasn't sold on the chorus coming out of that guitar break, but I do like how it gets higher up in pitch. It, like, goes up. It gets kind of dreamy. Yeah, that was a cool song. Like, this one was a little bit more fun than the first track. Kind of the highlight for me was honestly, even though that one verse I didn't like how it started with, "There's a spider in my milkshake," in the milkshake. I did like how the drums came in to kind of do those fills as almost like a call and answer. That was really exciting. Near the end, the whole song started like sounding like it was glitching out. Like you were playing it on your computer and someone spilled water on it and it was just like freaking out. Yeah, that was a fun one. I'm curious if they're going to keep this up for the whole album. All right, solid start to this album. We're going to go check out Emergency next, track 3. Okay, starts off with a mean guitar riff. Kind of a unique feel, wasn't expecting that. Really does fill out when they, come with the, more guitars and whole band. Okay, hi-hat goes crazy here. There's 16 notes. I like the guitar lead they added here. I have mixed feelings on the keyboard noises. Okay, I like this new chord progression. This change feels really refreshing. Okay, this is kind of like the verse, but with the new riff under it, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm liking this glitchy guitar solo, though. It's working here for me. Okay, ending on like a half chorus? Looks kind of like. So, okay, so I have some mixed feelings on this song. Like, I like that it starts off with like a riff. I feel like each of these songs are starting out a little bit different, but like not too different where I'm like, where are we going? And I like that it was also still fast. I'm glad we're kind of keeping up with this fast up-tempo thing. But some things were working, some things weren't. So I didn't really like the keyboard kind of like sound effects, siren things going on. They were just kind of distracting. They didn't add a lot until we got to the chorus. And the chorus, it works for me. Like, I see what they're doing there. They're kind of hinting it. But I just think I prefer it without it. The verses were definitely my least favorite part of the song. They weren't very memorable to me. That's kind of when the riff started to not sound as tough. Which is, not every riff has to be that tough. Although, so when kind of like the pre-chorus, when they sing Emergency, I was kind of getting like, that's something Eddie Vedder would kind of sing it like. He would kind of take kind of his
More
inflection,
modern
melody.
day Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, modern Eddie Vedder. So the highlight was probably just the chorus for me. I like when she sings "How Can I Be Here." She sings it up a little higher, a little softer, not soft, but you know, it's refreshing. They do like a different chord to get out. Um, Actually, I did kind of lie. My favorite part is actually when they go that the guitar break, and it's just like the arpeggios.
Yeah.
And then they do that really weird "So Don't," where they come in just for like half a second. It was kind of weird, but I think it is. I really admire how they were able to take that texture and then go back into the verse, but actually transform it where it was different sounding. And I was like, I much prefer this than before the other verses, but maybe it's the payoff that makes it sound so good. And then yeah, ending on the kind of like the pre-chorus into like a half chorus. That was definitely a unique call. I think that was cool. So as you could probably tell from my response here, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this one. I'm kind of iffy. There's a lot of good going on, and what I can say about the album so far is I think there's really strong songwriting here. I think we're gonna get the Yankee Hotel Foxtrot issue here, that dilemma where there's just a little too much ear candy going on.
So maybe I should have gone Counting Crows.
Well, there might not be enough ear candy in that one. So why don't we move on to track 4, Shovel. More guitar. Still a build. Maybe not.
It's pointed at the tip, shards of soil.
Kind of like industrial sounding drums here. Okay, I like the second verse a lot better than the first verse. Wow. Liking what the guitars are doing. Feels very kind of like 2000s indie rock kind of. And this chorus, it's very synth pop. And I'm liking this second half right here a lot more than the first half of it. The synths become more kind of overwhelming and the progression changes, and I actually like that. First acoustic of the album? Kind of a goofy little transition out of the build, but it was a really good build. But I'm surprised we're just going instrumental here. Alright, that one I liked more than the last track, I believe. I actually didn't think I was going to like this one that much at the very start. But the song really kicked into a new gear at the end of the first chorus. So like when she says the final time, taken care of, it like kind of opens up for a second, and then it gets kind of this like kind of dramatic, eerie kind of just swell. And then you go into the next verse, and now it's fleshed out more. There's a lot of cool guitar things going on. You still get like the previous elements before, like the kind of industrial sounding drums. I do the pre-chorus I'm kind of iffy on, but when it goes into the chorus actually, and you get like this building like keyboard arpeggio thing going on, I really do like that. I think the most impressive part of the song was the build from the bridge. I'm bruised and I'm blistered. It feels like a really organic, genuine build, like you would feel from like a live band. Not so much like the build of, you know, the title track opening where it's here's an element, here's a new element. It's just like actually the dynamic and intensity of the performance picks up. And then when the build, you know, reaches its climax, you know, there's like a little kind of pause that was kind of a little goofy, but it didn't take away from it. And then it kicks into an instrumental part of the song, but that's where I'm kind of like, I wish they kicked into something, whether it was like a lead. I don't know if they thought just going straight to the vocals was a little too obvious. So yeah, I know there's kind of a lot of thoughts and observations. This one I think could grow on me a little bit more for sure. Once again, a lot of cool things going on though, and I'm glad there are interesting things happening.
Okay, well, the next track is titled Tiny Threads.
I think this one already is supposed to feel a little maybe darker, a little more melancholy. Oh. Wasn't expecting that chord. Super simple, Rico style lead.
Okay.
I like that line a lot. Maybe a little cheesy, but I like that. Okay, now I'm really digging this music here. But once again, they do it just a little too short. And now I'm like, I have to listen to more to hear it more.
Sorry, jump scare for you, Tony.
Yeah, it's like clean guitar picking. I'm definitely digging when it comes in the song. I like that. It like song really crawls, goes to a still there, letting a little bit of that guitar like feedback in, just bring in the noise. Bro's just hitting the hitting the bar. I like that what the drums are doing too. That little rhythm, that's nice. This was a tough one. I feel like these last couple songs, I'm not really digging the first half so much, but about the time to get halfway through, I'm like, these guys are cooking. And maybe let me look at like kind of like the big thing on my mind right now is I'm just like, I hope with the second side of this record they experiment with song structures a little bit. Because these are good structures, but these songs I'm kind of noticing are very similar in how they do the dynamics, like have maybe like a build at the start, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then you add a lot of new elements as you go through the verse, pre-chorus, chorus again, which is great. I'm a big fan of that. Then a bridge, and then maybe like a little instrumental part, and then chorus to send us home. Which I mean, it works. It works every time. But I'm curious to see what else these guys can do. So yeah, with this one, I think my favorite part was honestly the chorus. It's a catchy little melody, nothing crazy. I like the guitar picking a lot. I like that the keys were less obnoxious in this track. I think my favorite part could be the bridge actually, where she says it haunts me. It gets even quieter than the quiet bridge on the last track. Just bass notes for a second at a very slow pace, and then the little bit of feedback right before they kick in. You get a noisy guitar solo, which I think those can be really fun, kind of underrated. Yeah, and I like the lyric of the chorus. And we're always held together by tiny little threads. And I think I love you the most when you were unraveling. Ending was cool, how the music faded out, and then kind of the vocals too. I thought that stood out from the other songs. I want to see more of this band.
Well, I mean, the only way to see more of this band is continuing through to the next track, which is titled Loose Change.
Okay, this definitely sounds different already. Some nice acoustic here. This is much more Phoebe Bridgers inspired here.
I can hear it.
Yeah, I like this guitar layer, this picking. Okay. Squiggly electric. Or no, that's the keyboard.
You got fooled.
Yeah, they fooled me. Yeah, it was kind of a subtle build. I like that there's toms in this beat. Tremolo on the lead guitar. I'm liking they're doing that a lot. This might be the longest ambient noise at the end, and this is a short song. All right, so this is exactly what I was looking for. Which I've been saying. I wanted something a little bit different, and this was different. It has what I call the sandwich structure, which I just talked about last week. It's kind of like an A section, a B section, and then it goes back to the A section, so it's like symmetrical. The build happened like directly in the middle of the song, starts and ends the same with like acoustic guitar and the same set of lyrics. Just at the end, there's a little bit more added, feedback to it, which is dope. This one there was less lyrics, but they definitely stood out to me more. I like how in the opening and closing part, standing up to our mistakes has always been my biggest trait. That's a cool line. Definitely feels kind of a little more Phoebe Bridgers inspired, but I like that it's not like standing up to my mistakes or your mistakes. It's ours. I don't know. I just felt good in this song. There's not as much to say to this one, I feel like, just because it's a little shorter. We've covered a lot of these things, but I appreciate that it was a little bit more guitar heavy than keyboard heavy. And when the keyboard was there, it was a lot more, it fit in a lot better, I think. Yeah, okay, what else do we have on the second side?
Well, we got
Always waving goodbye.
I've been out drinking with all of your demons.
I take it back. This is the most Phoebe Bridgers inspired song. Alright, I like how fast it kind of switched gears. That was a cool line. Alright, so there's like normal piano, less keyboard stuff going on in this one. I'm appreciating that. I like some sort of like harp thing on the right. I gotta show you what this sounds like. You already know the song.
I know.
I'll just tell you what it sounds like then.
Yeah.
From a basement on a hill. A distorted reality.
Okay, yeah, it was bugging me all of this last week.
Very similar to it, and I love that song. Oh, that's a cool little guitar solo, yeah. Okay, yeah, that one is kind of another mixed feeling song. I like some things and I don't like some things. Actually, there's only one thing I don't really like. I don't really like the chorus that much. It's a slog to get through. But always waving, I don't know. But it exits really well, though. I think for like the ending, like just like the last time they do the chord, I don't know, feels like the end. Going into the solo feels really fitting. I like some of the I really liked the one lyric, your confetti of thoughts are lying on the rug. I feel like there's so much imagery to that. I really dig that a lot. The solo totally had to be inspired from the ending of A Distorted Reality. Here's a necessity to be free. Closing track from Elliott Smith's From Basement on a Hill. Big fan of that song, and that section in particular. So I was cool with that. I appreciated it. Not only just the guitar tone and like the chord progression, but also what the drums are doing. I like that the drums in this song were definitely a different feel than the other songs. That I did appreciate and noticed. Yeah, kind of like the last song and a little bit shorter. Not as much to say that I haven't kind of been over. I like the normal piano. It still like had a lot of like reverb kind of effects in that sort of way, but it wasn't really synthy for a lot of it. Kind of maybe, I don't know if it was before or after the solo. I was getting a little distracted by them. Like, well, what is that? What is that? But I'm at least glad I'm thinking critically about the song, even if you could say it's distracting or takes you out of it.
Yeah, so this next song is titled Let Me Go, and it features Madison Cunningham. And to be honest, I actually don't know much about her. I did Google her earlier this week, and she's a singer-songwriter, guitarist. Her genres are considered Americana and folk pop.
Oh,
which, spoiler alert, you would not guess from this next song. She is featured on this next track, Let Me Go.
oh. Kind of Halloween-y. It's kind of got like that modern. I think of it as like a modern surf sound that some other bands do. So you got like the two distorted guitar, tremolo guitar. Definitely the most interesting song, kind of like chord progression, melodically. Those are coarse vocals though. I like the guitars here working together more than in the verse. It's kind of like Queens of the Stone Age kind of fuckery. I don't know if all these parts right here are really meshing well together for me. You know, the guitars are pretty loud, which is good, but I kind of feel like the guitars are doing something different than the drum and vocals are doing. And then the keys are kind of just doing the whatever thing that they've kind of been doing. Like, this sounds like a Radiohead thing with the vocals. I feel like everything's locking in the way that they... I don't want to say the way they meant to, but I feel like it feels right. Okay, nice. I like this outro. And it's a little faster. Vocals are kind of weird. Yeah, that's my least favorite one so far.
I thought that would have been one of your favorites.
I know you would have, but I definitely need to listen to this one a few more times. I think I liked some of the elements and choices they picked, but I just don't think they were really all working together. Like in that main verse, I just think I liked the two guitars that were, kind of, doing like a counterpoint thing, but I just felt like they were really disconnected from the drum and vocal. Also, like with the vocal performance, I mentioned Radiohead. I don't know if that's the right thing for the section I was talking about, but she is doing that Tom York sort of whine, and you know how I feel about Tom York. It's not for me. I do like kind of like the post-chorus when they say "Let me go." I feel like that's kind of like a better version of the verse where things feel a little more natural, a little more complete. And I did like the outro where they did pick it up. Although I think when the drums picked up more too, I think it would have been cool if they sounded more like a live kit, a little bit louder. But maybe that's just the rock and roller in me talking. So,
Well,
all right. Well,
let's see if this
move
next.
on.
Let's see if this next song is more your tempo.
I'm hoping this song will be sweet. So,
Yeah, next song, Be Sweet.
so like this kind of like a vocal pad sort of thing going on. Drums, guitar. Well, there was guitar. That was awesome. Do. I'm waiting for the low note on the guitar to come back. They better do that more than once. Changed ears though. I like that this chorus, it kind of sounds like their other choruses. The second half of the progression definitely feels fresh. A little catchy guitar riff, simple. I like the drums here. I'm glad all the ambient kind of pads are kind of taking a back seat here finally. Also, some like normal piano again. I hear that. Yeah, like we're rocking out. I like just like the da 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 like eighth notes on the guitar. Okay, so they just went back to like the verse. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I like that one definitely a lot more than the last one. We kind of chilled out here a bit. It's I don't want to say it's underwhelming, but it's just very in the middle of what it is. It's like it's not really heavy, it's not too soft, it's not like slow, but it's definitely not fast.
It's a calm down song.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I liked that the guitars were sparse, but when I heard them, I really liked what they were doing. They were either catchy, that little dun dun, that little chuggy that I liked, or kind of like in that bridge, they kind of picked up and rocked out a bit more. Um, I'm definitely noticing at this point, like I did notice it, but it's definitely becoming more apparent that a lot of her lyrics have a lot of repeated lines, which I don't think is bad. Repetition is great, but also like, I feel like a lot of these choruses are kind of feeling really similar. But with this one, I feel like the second half of the progression, as I mentioned, was refreshing, and I appreciated that. Yeah, and I definitely just like the groove of this one more. The drums are cool.
Well, all right, we are to the penultimate track, See
All
in
right.
the Dark.
No. Okay, I thought it was gonna be a slow intro, but we're picking up quickly. This is very like fun, happy sounding. Interesting chord at the end.
While I'm running circles in the back of your mind, talk I can see in the dark. There's no need to find another way.
I like this part here. The big sustain on the keys and then the chords,
See in the dark.
kind of jangly.
There's no need to find another way.
I like the vocal a lot too here. I like those has those like there's unison bends in the back on the guitar. Yeah, I like that's just like the guitar and vocal pretty much here, rocking out. Okay, build. Okay, guitar solo. Quick ending! They finally did it! Yeah, okay, that one was in the nicest way possible. That was kind of like a zone out song, right? It was like it wasn't slow, like not that type of like I'm in my feels type of zone out song, but it was just kind of one that was like a little bit more steady. Even on like the dropout where like there's less instruments going on, it still has like the pace to it. I think this song would be a lot better live, even like just kind of a little bit more stripped back, do it a little bit faster. Yeah, no, I was definitely into this one though. And I do like that lyric, but I'm the dragon breathing down your neck. I don't know, it's just kind of like that one. Kind of one of the more straightforward songs, truly. I will say kind of the verse progression was kind of weird at first. A little quirky maybe, if you will, but I'm okay with that. It wasn't like unsettling or anything like distracting. But I'm glad we went back to kind of like a guitar heavy song. I mean, I know like some of the other ones had like a lot of guitar leads, but this one had more chords. I think it's a good little penultimate track too. I guess that's kind of contingent on what the ending track actually is, but as far as for a setup, I feel pretty ready for it.
All right, well, closing track, Happiness is Not a Given.
I woke up this morning, joy was a knife. The cloud shifted in me, torn out from the sky. I fell into chasms, a black marble night.
Pretty slow for a closing track.
You can open up.
A lot of chords in this though. I definitely am liking some of them.
Believe it, there's
Digging the falsetto. That little bass was fun there. Like this section, I think will be my favorite section of the song. Yeah, a little chord change at the end. Yeah, I like that progression, melody.
and I'll be the
Good lyrics there.
you can
Ooh. I like those guitar scratches. I like that she waited until like a bridge to start repeating the lyrics. I like this because it's going over like the verse, pre-chorus progression. That's a cool way to recycle it, keeping it fresh. Alright, that's possibly the best song off the album right there.
Wow.
I really enjoyed that one. I was a little skeptical at first because it was pretty slow, but I think the chord progressions really stood out. I thought it was structured well. I thought the instrumentation was quite tasteful. It was chill vibe, like, you know, end on a chill note. Kind of go back to an earlier episode when we did the Talk Show album by Talk Show. You had mentioned that the closing track just feels like a good, like, kind of send-off song, as if you end a concert with it. It just kind of feels good. And yeah, I got that from there. And I liked the vocal performance a lot. It was a lot more dynamic. Probably my favorite vocal at the very least. Yeah, and it definitely was different than the rest of the album. That was just really nice to kind of get lost in there, immersed.
Well, go give it a couple more listens, and we'll be back to have you wrap up your final thoughts. All right, Tony, you've had some more time now with this new Deep Sea Diver album, Billboard Heart. I'm curious if any songs grow on you, if you're digging it just as much, or hopefully not any less, even though I know that's happened before in the past. So why don't you give us your final thoughts on this album?
Yeah, so the biggest change right off the bat, let's just head to it. Let Me Go. I like it now.
Okay.
I know I was very
Thankfully.
critical of it
Yeah.
on a first listen. This wasn't driving with me, but I actually prefer it over some of the other songs because it is a bit more interesting. It is a good change of pace on the record. Granted, you know, when I listen to it most of the time, I'm listening a little bit more casually with less critical ears. So I think that probably benefited the song. But yeah, so with this album, it doesn't really speak to me as much as it may speak to you. I think this is a good record. I am glad I heard it, you know, especially local people. But kind of, I think most of the songs that I liked before, I like in a similar place. You know, I do like the beginning, how there's songs like What Do I Know and Emergency, which are a little bit quicker. What Do I Know, I definitely like the part where she just sings the title. That's really catchy. Emergency, even though it kind of starts with a very like kind of dad rock sounding riff, that one is a rocker. I dig that. My kind of like my second favorite part of the album, or kind of maybe my favorite part, would be Be Sweet and See in the Dark.
Okay.
And I would count Let Me Go as well. I think that's kind of a good, like, we're gonna get kind of the little more out there rocker song, and then follow it with two kind of like, just kind of like feel good songs, and maybe not like I'm so happy type of feel good, but just like this is a pleasant vibe to listen to, you know. Solid song, nothing crazy. Maybe my least favorite part of the album is probably the chorus to Tiny Threads. It just kind of got a little bit annoying to me. I don't mind the rest of the song, and it's not like it's unlistenable because of the chorus. Like that's a pretty small thing to say, even though the chorus happens a lot in it. Loose Change and Always Waving Goodbye, those are kind of the ones I kind of forget how they sound, but Always Waving Goodbye, every time I hear the outro and I think about A Distorted Reality from Elliott Smith.
Or the bridge of the song?
Oh, is it the bridge, not
It's
the
the
outro?
bridge, yeah.
Apologies.
Bridge was like...
They did a really distorted guitar and the progression. That part's dope, of course. I gotta love that. Shovel is definitely kind of what I thought most of the album was gonna be. Kind of after, especially here in like the opener, like a little bit more of the synth pop. But honestly, on a few listens,
what song did you say?
Shovel?
Shuffle?
Shovel.
Shovel. My bad.
Shovel.
I was just hearing you. I thought you were saying like shuttle or something.
No. I mean, maybe I misspoke. But No, I thought more of the album was kind of going to sound like that, but as I listened to it a little bit more, I'm like, that one's kind of actually a little bit of an outlier of how it sounds. And then yeah, like kind of like booking the album, I kind of saved that for the last. I like the closer a lot. Happiness is not a given. I like the progression. I think the like just the normal piano sound is really impactful here. Kind of makes it seem like it's a little bit less dressed up, which I think is good for that song. I like the progression a lot. Something I would dig. Good melody. And then Billboard Heart, the actual opener title track, I kind of have mixed feelings on. I feel like I should like it more than I do, but every time I start this record, I'm like, I have no idea what the song sounds like. And maybe I just have bad memory, but like it's not that impactful to me. Doesn't really stick with me, which for an
Which is funny
opener,
because I started editing this episode already, and you seem like you liked that one a lot, a lot when you gave it a first listen.
I don't know. I mean, if I can't really remember how the song goes after, 5 listens, maybe I didn't like it as much as I thought.
But you acknowledge it might be a you problem.
Maybe. I just think, I don't know, some the other songs of the album kind of just do what that song does, but either a little bit more streamlined or kind of just focuses on certain aspects more. I don't know. So that's kind of where I am at with the album right now. It's definitely not really an album. Like, that style isn't necessarily something I seek out on my own time for listening, so I'm not sure when I'll revisit this album. I'd be interested in hearing some of their other stuff, though. Something else, too, it's a small thing. I don't think she's got a bad voice or anything, but it just got a little kind of tiring on, a second or third listen through the album. Just personal preference. I ain't trying to be harsh here or anything. But I see why you like this record, especially with kind of like the Death Cab you've been listening to and the Killers, their newer work. And I had mentioned kind of like with Hotel Tango Foxtrot.
No. Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
I tried my best. With that album, there was a lot of, I'll just say sound effects for lack of better words, like a lot of synths and just a lot of ear candy decorations going on. And this record's full of that. And I can kind of, sometimes it's a bit much. I'm kind of picky with how I like that stuff. But I definitely see why this
I guess
album
the next album I need to
resonates
give
with
you
me.
is like just a straight up acoustic album. No sound effects, no ear candy.
Well, that settles it. I'm going to get Nebraska next pod. Yeah, but I don't really have anything else to add. I think, yeah, that's
Well,
how I feel.
I might in the future. Like I said, I actually don't know their first 2 albums. I started listening to one the other day, but then I got distracted. But their Impossible Weight album, the one before this, is the album that kind of got me into the band. I actually think I prefer this new one though, but that means if I prefer this one, you'll probably prefer the other one. So it is how it is. So I will give you that one maybe down the road. But yeah, I'm glad you were able to enjoy some of it. I kind of went into it knowing it's not as your style as much. It's a little bit more contemporary. It's a little bit more pop. It's a little bit more. It's just I feel like songwriting wise, not up your alley as much as mine. But that's kind of why we do this podcast. We give each other something that kind of challenges us. So
Different strokes for different folks.
yep. But let us know what you think of this album. If you've heard it yet, drop us comments. Tell us what you think of it. And if you're like me who really enjoy the album, definitely go try to catch them live. They're right now on a tour. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see them this time around, but hopefully in the future. But yeah, until next time, we hope you take care, and you'll be hearing from us soon. Bye-bye.